Today I'll be talking about something that differs a lot over the dialect of English, and that is phonemic vowel length. Now, vowel length is something some languages distinguish and other languages don't. So Castilian Spanish, for example, doesn't make any distinction between long and short vowels. There are 5 vowel qualities, a, e, I, o, u, and that's it. You can obviously pronounce a vowel for a long time if you want to, but it's not phonemic in the language, and I'll explain what I mean in a minute. To clarify quickly, what I mean by long and short vowels is not pairs of vowels in English like a and a, e and e. What I mean is pairs of vowels that are only different from each other because of how long you pronounce them for, like a and a, o and o. Back to what I mean by phonemic. Well, if vowel length is phonemic in a language, that means that it's meaningful to the speakers of that language. In a language with phonemic vowel length, you can change just the length of the vowel, and that makes a meaningful difference to a word. So in my accent, merry and Mary are only different because of the length of time I say the vowel for. The vowel e can be either short e or long e in my dialect. There's a phonemic distinction between the two, because if you pronounce this vowel short where it should be long, you've said the wrong word. In my accent, the sentence "I'm feeling very merry today" doesn't make any sense, but the sentence "I'm feeling very merry today" does make sense, and the only difference between the two is how long I spend saying the vowel e. So here, the length of the vowel e is phonemic because it's meaningful in my accent. I chose this particular pair of words because in some English varieties there's no distinction between the two, they're pronounced identically to each other. Really, a lot of the distinctions in English that look like they're to do with vowel length are actually also to do with vowel quality. So the difference between bin and bean. The vowel in bean is pronounced for longer, at least in my accent, but it's also got a different quality. It's less centralised. Listen to the difference. E, 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 e. I remember in my first year at uni spending countless joyous hours watching my Spanish friends try and pronounce the difference between ship and sheep. Linguists often prefer to analyse phonology in the simplest possible way, the way that has the fewest distinctions. So while there's definitely a phonemic difference between the words ship and sheep, that's clear to any native English speaker, a lot of linguists would argue that on a phonological level it's simpler just to analyse this as a difference in vowel quality, the difference between e and e, and not a difference in vowel length. In this situation, you only really need one phonemic distinction to explain the difference between those vowels. You don't need two distinctions. Two, some people would argue, is overcomplicating things. The simplest way of analysing this in a lot of dialects of English is just to say I and E are separate vowels because they have separate vowel qualities, and as a rule, E is always pronounced for a longer time than I. The length there doesn't need to be a phonemic thing, it can just be a property of the vowel E that always applies. That way, the overall phonology can be viewed more simply and with less distinctions. In my accent, this also applies to pairs of words like rot and wrought, but some US accents have these pronounced with the same vowel. Rat. There's a massive amount of variation in how this whole thing works from dialect to dialect. Many people would argue that a lot of US English doesn't distinguish phonemic vowel length at all. So once again, you can have vowels that are held for longer than other vowels, but this is always governed by some other rule, and not a phonological one. Across English dialects, vowels are generally held for slightly longer if they come before voiced consonants as opposed to voiceless ones, so bat versus bad. In fact, a so-called long vowel can actually be pronounced shorter than a so-called short vowel in the same sentence because of this, so think of live and leap. The vowel in leap is cut short because it's followed by a voiceless consonant, even though it's traditionally thought of as a long vowel. Scottish accents and dialects of Scots are quite a lot of the time governed by something called the Scottish vowel length rule, which says that certain vowels are long in certain environments and short in others. So the U vowel is long in luv because it comes before v, but it's short in aloof or ut because it comes before f and t. The vowel E is long in favourite, but it's shorter in reg. This is an example of a system where the length of vowels is rule governed, but it's not phonemic. It never makes a meaningful difference. Changing the vowel length there can't change the meaning of the word, so it's not a phonemic property of the vowel, but the system is still rule governed, so it still sounds wrong if you say it the wrong length. The Scottish vowel length rule I've just described probably appeared in Scots in the late medieval period. and that's in contrast with the more conservative Northern English dialects that have ordinary phonemic vowel length but only in some pairs of vowels. Most English speakers tend to think of our language as having long and short vowels because we're taught in school a very old way of looking at things. We're taught that A has the long vowel A, that I has the long vowel I, and so on. But really these pairs have nothing to do with each other anymore in English. E really doesn't have any resemblance to E. A really doesn't have much resemblance to U, so why do English speakers think of them as being linked to each other? Well, they're linked in spelling, of course, but they also used to be linked in pronunciation. Listen to the modern English pronunciations of these pairs of words. Rot, wrote. Mat, mate. Bet, beat. Wit, white. And now listen to the late Middle English pronunciations. Rot, wrote. Mat, mat. Bet, bet. Wheat, wheat. In late Middle English, the long and short values are pretty much long and short versions of the same vowel quality. They have something pretty close to their normal European values, and above all else, there's clearly something like phonemic vowel length here. In other words, there are clearly pairs of words that are only different from each other because the vowel is long in one and short in the other. Although you could still make a marginal case against phonemic vowel length here, because in most modern English dialects there's a noticeable difference in quality between a long vowel and the nearest short vowel, so think I and E. It's widely suspected the same thing might have been true in Middle English. Rot, wrote instead of rot, wrote. Wet, wheat instead of wheat, wheat. So if the vowel qualities were actually like that, you could make a case that there was a lessened phonemic vowel length in Middle English and that vowels were differentiated by quality instead. Going back to modern English, is this not just linguists getting overly technical? Surely you could frame this entire thing in a different way. Surely you could say that in pairs of words like ship and sheep, it's the vowel length that's phonemic, and the vowel quality is just a property of long and short vowels. You could transcribe the words ship and sheep in this way, and say that wherever this vowel is pronounced short, it's also slightly lax I. Now, I don't personally think this is the best way of looking at it, and I'll explain why with a short thought exercise for native English speakers, although non-native English speakers are welcome to join in. I'm going to speak with my own accent here. Shape. What word was that? I dare say most native speakers will probably have heard this. If I say sheep, I dare say most native English speakers will have heard this. I played around with the length there, but I think for most native English speakers it was still clear which one I meant because of the difference in vowel quality. Old English is normally thought of as having distinguished between long and short vowels, and as Old English became Middle English, a lot of vowels that were short in Old English became long, specifically short non-high vowels in what we call an open syllable. By non-high vowel, I mean a vowel that isn't E or U, and by open syllable, I mean a syllable that ends in a vowel. So take the Old English word noma as an example. The O is a non-high vowel, and it comes at the end of a syllable, so noma becomes nama in Middle English and name in Modern English, and there are a lot of other words like this. That was a particularly technical video, so I'll try and do a more kind of summary one next time, and thank you very much for watching.